Hana walked through the crystalline forest like she had done every morning for the past 10 years. The purple trees glowed softly in the early light, their glass-like branches making gentle sounds as the wind passed through them. She carried a small basket with her, filled with tools and supplies. To anyone watching, she looked like a simple botanist, doing her daily work. But Hana carried a secret that could change everything. Deep in the forest, past the areas where other Virillans walked, there was a hidden grove. Hana had to move carefully through thick plants and over smooth rocks to reach it. Her people, the Virillans, lived long lives. Most of them could see 300 or 400 years, but even for them, 200 years was a long time to keep a promise. The grove was quiet when she arrived. In the center stood what looked like a large stone, covered in moss and small flowers. Hana set down her basket and began her work. She pulled away some of the moss, revealing metal underneath. Her fingers found the hidden panel, and she pressed it gently. A small screen appeared, glowing with soft blue light. The numbers on the screen showed that everything was working. The power cells were still good. The life support was stable. Inside this fake stone was something the galaxy believed was gone forever. A human being. Hana's great-grandmother, Mireille, had helped put him there. Her name was Taeyang, and he had been a warrior. 200 years ago, the Galactic Council had decided that humans were too dangerous to live. They said humans were too violent, too unpredictable, too good at war. So they ordered all humans to be killed. They called it the Great Purge. Mireille had been young then, but she remembered. She told the story to Hana's grandmother, who told it to Hana's mother, who told it to Hana. The story of how Taeyang and his soldiers had fought to protect Virillan civilians when the Council's army came, how they had given their lives so others could escape, and how Mireille had found Taeyang, badly wounded but alive, and made a choice. Instead of letting him die, she hid him. She put him in a military stasis pod and disguised it as a rock. She told no one, not even the other humans who escaped, and she passed down one command to her family: keep him safe until the stars align in blood. Hana never understood what that phrase meant, but she kept the promise anyway. She cleaned the panel and checked all the systems. She trimmed the plants around the pod and made sure it stayed hidden. Then she sat down on the soft grass and pulled out her grandmother's old journal. She had read it 100 times, but she always found something new in the worn pages. Mireille's handwriting was neat and careful. She wrote about Taeyang's kindness, even in war, how he had learned their language and tried to understand their customs, how he had cried when he couldn't save everyone, how he had stood between their families and certain death, again and again. The last entry in the journal was different. Mireille's hand had been shaking when she wrote it. If you are reading this, the pod has activated. The danger has returned. Wake him, child. Wake him and trust him as I did. Humanity may be gone, but their courage lives in him. The galaxy will need that courage again. Hana closed the journal and looked at the stone. For 200 years, it had been silent. The pod had never activated, never shown any sign that it would wake. She had started to believe it never would, that Taeyang would sleep forever, the last human, hidden and safe. Then the screen blinked. Hana's heart jumped. She leaned closer. The screen showed a new message, one she had never seen before. Warning lights began to flash, soft and slow at first, then faster. The pod's sensors had detected something that triggered its ancient programming. Her hands shook as she pulled out her communication device. She should tell someone, the council, the authorities. But the moment she did, they would come. They would find Taeyang. And she didn't know what they would do to him. The Galactic Council still made people nervous when they talked about humans. In schools, children learned that humans had been deleted from existence for good reasons. The official records said they had been planning to start a war, that they had refused to follow the Council's laws. But Hana had read Mireille's journals. She knew there was more to the story. The sky above the forest suddenly changed. Hana looked up and saw something that made her blood run cold. Streaks of light appeared in the purple sky. Not the normal ships that came and went from Veral 9. These were different, bigger, moving in strange patterns. Her device buzzed. Messages started pouring in from the city. Emergency alerts. Unknown ships had appeared at the edge of their system. The council was sending warships to investigate. Everyone was told to stay calm and stay inside. Hana looked at the pod, then at the sky, then back at the pod. The warning lights were blinking faster now. The screen showed more text, in an old Earth language she had taught herself to read. External threat detected. Primary mission parameters activated. Awaiting command authorization. She knew what she had to do. But fear held her frozen. If she woke him, everything would change. The secret her family had kept for 200 years would be revealed. The council would know that humans still existed, and Taeyang would wake to a galaxy where everyone he knew was dead, where his entire species had been erased from history. But the lights in the sky were moving closer. And something deep in her heart told her that Mireille had been right. The stars were aligning in blood. The danger had returned. Hana placed her hand on the panel and spoke the activation code her mother had taught her. The code passed down through generations. Taeyang of Earth, she said softly, her voice shaking. The garden needs its guardian. Wake up, the pod hummed to life. The pod made sounds Hana had never heard before. Metal scraped against metal. Air hissed and whistled. The moss and flowers covering it began to fall away as the surface shifted and opened. White mist poured out, cold against the warm morning air. Hana stepped back, her heart pounding so hard she could hear it in her ears. She had imagined this moment countless times, but nothing prepared her for the reality of it. A hand appeared first, gripping the edge of the pod. The fingers were scarred and strong. Then came a shoulder, an arm, and finally a face. Taeyang pulled himself upward, gasping for air. His eyes were wide and unfocused. His black hair was longer than in the old photographs Mireille had kept, falling past his shoulders. He looked around wildly, his body tensing like a spring ready to snap. His hand went to his side, searching for a weapon that wasn't there. When his eyes found Hana, he froze. Contact, he said, his voice rough and harsh from 200 years of silence. He spoke in Old Earth Korean, a language Hana had learned from recordings. Identify yourself. Are you hostile? Hana raised her hands slowly, trying to show she meant no harm. My name is Hana, she said carefully in the same language. I am Verilyn. You are safe. My family has protected you. Taeyang blinked. His breathing was too fast. He looked at the forest around them, at the purple trees, and the strange light. Where am I? Where is my unit? Where is Captain Yuna? Please, Hana said gently. Sit down. I need to explain many things. I don't have time to sit, Taeyang said, trying to climb out of the pod. His legs gave out immediately, and he fell to his knees on the grass. He cursed in frustration. How long was I under? Hours? Days? Hana knelt beside him, keeping a respectful distance. 200 years, she said quietly. The words hung in the air like stones. Taeyang stared at her, his face going pale. That's not possible. The pod was only rated for 30 years maximum, and I was supposed to be. He stopped, his eyes going distant. We were supposed to rendezvous. The evacuation. Did they make it out? Some did, Hana said. She pulled out her grandmother's journal and held it out to him. My great-grandmother Mireille helped your unit escape. She hid you when you were too injured to run. This journal tells the story. Taeyang took the journal with shaking hands. He opened it and saw Mireille's neat handwriting. Saw his own name written there. As he read, his expression changed from confusion to pain to something deeper and harder. The purge, he whispered. They actually did it. They killed everyone. Not everyone, Hana said. The journal mentions others who escaped, hidden in different places. But yes, most of humanity is gone. The Council declared humans extinct 200 years ago. They erased your people from official records. In schools, They teach that humans were too dangerous to exist. Taeyong's hands clenched around the journal. And you kept me hidden all this time. Why? Because my great-grandmother made a promise, Hana said simply. And because she believed the galaxy would need you again someday. Before Taeyong could respond, the sky lit up with orange and red light. They both looked up to see explosions in the upper atmosphere. Ships were firing at each other, their weapons cutting through the purple sky like knives. The unknown vessels, Hana said, pulling out her communication device. The messages were frantic now. The strange ships had attacked without warning. The Council's defense fleet was trying to fight back, but their weapons were barely making a dent. Taeyong stood up, steadier now. He watched the battle with a soldier's eyes, reading the movements and patterns. Those attack runs, he said slowly. That's a human tactic. Modified wolfpack formation. We used it against superior forces. But humans are gone, Hana said. Then, someone learned from us, Taeyong said grimly. Or, someone found our old playbooks. He looked at Hana. I need information. Everything you know about the current galaxy. Military strength. Political structure. Technology levels. I'm just a botanist, Hana said. I don't know military things. You're also the only friend I have in this entire galaxy, Taeyong said. His voice softened slightly. And if someone is using human combat tactics, then I'm one of the few people alive who can counter them. Tell me what you can. They spent the next hour there in the grove, while the battle raged above. Hana told Taeyong everything she knew, about the Galactic Council and how it ruled, about the different alien species and their relationships, about how technology had advanced in some ways but stayed the same in others, about how the Council had outlawed certain weapons and tactics after the Purge, calling them too inhumane. Taeyong listened carefully, asking questions that showed his military training. He wanted to know about supply lines, about communication networks, about which species were loyal to the Council and which ones were just afraid. They made themselves weaker, he said finally. By banning everything they learned from fighting humans. They forgot how to actually fight. They've been at peace so long they don't remember war. Above them, the explosions were getting closer. Hana's device showed that the unknown ships were winning. They were pushing deeper into the system, heading straight for Veral 9. We need to leave, Hana said. The city has shelters, underground bunkers where we'll be safe. Bunkers won't help if those ships land, Taeyong said. He was still weak. Still recovering from stasis. But his mind was sharp. But you're right. We need to move. And I need to see these attackers up close, figure out who they are and what they want. You can barely walk, Hana pointed out. I've fought in worse condition, Taeyong said. Then he looked at her. Really looked at her. And his expression changed. Thank you. For waking me. For keeping the promise. Mireille must have been an incredible person. Forman. She was, Hana said. And she trusted you. So I will too. They gathered what they could from the grove. Hana helped Taeyong walk through the forest, heading toward the city. Behind them, the stasis pod continued its shutdown sequence, its purpose finally fulfilled after 2 centuries of waiting. In the sky above, the unknown ships drew closer. And on one of those ships, someone watched the planet below with eyes that had once called humans brothers. The war had come home. The city was in chaos when Hana and Taeyong arrived. People ran through the streets, trying to reach the underground shelters. Buildings were on fire from falling debris. The purple sky was filled with smoke and the bright flashes of weapons fire. Hana led Taeyong through back alleys, away from the panicking crowds. He was moving better now, his body recovering faster than she expected, but she could see the pain in his eyes every time he looked at the frightened families around them. This is exactly what happened on Earth, he said quietly. The Council's ships came without warning, said they were there to help, to protect. Then they started firing. They reached Hana's small apartment building. It was old but sturdy, built into the side of a hill. Her rooms were on the top floor, filled with plants and books, and her grandmother's journals. Taeyang looked around at everything, his eyes stopping on a photograph on the wall. "Is that Mireille?" he asked, stepping closer to the picture. "Yes," Hana said. "With her family. That's my grandmother as a child." Taeyang studied the photo for a long moment. "She saved my life. I wish I could have thanked her." "You can honor her memory by helping us now," Hana said. She turned on her computer screen, pulling up news broadcasts from across the system. "Look. The attacks are happening everywhere. 5 planets hit in the last 3 hours." Taeyang watched the reports with growing concern. The unknown ships were moving with purpose, not random violence. They would attack a station or settlement, defeat the defenders quickly, then search through the wreckage before moving on. "They're looking for something," he said. "This isn't conquest. It's a treasure hunt." One broadcast caught his attention. A damaged station had managed to capture an image of one of the attacking ships up close. Taeyang leaned in, his eyes narrowing. The ship's design was strange, a mix of different technologies, but some of the weapons looked familiar. "Freeze that image," he told Hana. She did, and he pointed at specific marks on the ship's hull. "Those burn patterns. I know those. They're from plasma rifles, human plasma rifles. We were the only ones who made that particular model." "But how?" Hana asked. "If all humans were killed, someone survived," Taeyang said. "Or someone found our weapon caches. Either way, this is bad." He turned to her computer. "Can you access military communications? I need to hear what the defenders are saying." Hana hesitated. "That's illegal. I could get in serious trouble." "Hana, if we don't figure out who these attackers are and what they want, there won't be anyone left to get you in trouble," Taeyang said. His voice was gentle but firm. "Please." She sighed and started typing. Her fingers moved quickly across the keyboard, using tricks she had learned from rebellious friends in university. Within minutes, she had broken through the basic security and pulled up the military channels. What they heard made them both go cold. A voice was broadcasting on all frequencies, speaking in perfect galactic common. The voice was deep and confident, with an accent that reminded Taeyang of something from long ago. "People of the Council, I am Warlord Quan of the Vorathene hegemony. You do not remember us, but we remember you. 200 years ago, we fought beside the humans you murdered. We learned from them. We trained with them. And when you turned on them like cowards, we swore we would make you pay." Taeyang's face went white. "Quan," he whispered. "It can't be." "You know him?" Hana asked. "He was part of my unit," Taeyang said, his voice shaking. "A Vorathene soldier assigned to learn human tactics. We called him Quan because we couldn't pronounce his full name. He was my friend." The broadcast continued. "We have waited patiently. We have grown strong. And now we will take what the humans left behind. Their weapons, their technology, their legacy, and we will use it to bring this corrupt council to its knees." Images appeared on the screen, showing Vorathene soldiers in battle. They moved like human marines, used human formations, even wielded modified human weapons. It was like watching ghosts of the past brought back to life. "We know you have hidden human artifacts across the galaxy," Quan's voice said. "We know you buried their technology to keep others from becoming as strong as they were. But we will find everything. And when we do, no force in the universe will stop us." The broadcast ended with coordinates. Hana gasped when she saw them. "That's the research station on Veral 3. They're going there next." "What's at that station?" Taeyang asked. "Records," Hana said. "Historical archives. My people kept detailed documentation of the purge. If Quan gets access to those files," she looked at Taeyang with fear in her eyes, "they would show where humans made their last stands. Where they might have hidden supplies or weapons. Maybe even where other survivors like you are sleeping." Taeyang stood up, despite the pain still evident in his movements. "We have to get there first." "Are you?" "How?" "We don't have a ship. And even if we did, The council would shoot us down. They're not letting anyone leave the planet. Then we need to convince them to let us help, Taeyang said. He looked at Hana seriously. Which means I need to reveal myself. Tell them a human survivor is offering to fight against Quan. They'll kill you, Hana said immediately. Or lock you up, study you. You said yourself, they declared humans too dangerous to exist. Maybe, Taeyang admitted. But right now, I'm the only person in this galaxy who knows how Quan thinks. I trained with him. Fought beside him. I know his weaknesses. He put a hand on Hana's shoulder, and I have something the council doesn't. I have someone who trusts me, someone whose family has credentials and respect. I need you to vouch for me, Hana. I need you to tell them I'm not a threat. Hana looked at this human warrior, this man from another time, and saw the weight of impossible choices on his shoulders. He had lost everything. His world, his people, his entire species, and now his old friend had become a monster using human knowledge to hurt innocents. Okay, she said quietly. I'll help you. Taeyang smiled, and for a moment, he looked younger. Mireille chose her family well. They gathered what they needed. Hana put on her official botanist credentials, the ones that gave her some authority. Taeyang found some clothes that fit him, trading his ancient military gear for something less threatening. Together, they walked out into the burning city, heading for the council's military headquarters. Above them, Quan's ships circled like predators, and somewhere among the stars, other sleepers waited in their hidden graves. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity was not extinct, and that sometimes, the ghosts of the past return when they are needed most. The council military headquarters was a fortress of metal and stone in the heart of the city. Guards stood at every entrance, their weapons ready, their eyes scanning the crowds for threats. Hana and Taeyang joined the line of people trying to get inside, civilians hoping for protection or answers. When they reached the security checkpoint, Hana showed her credentials. I need to speak with whoever is commanding the defense, she said firmly. I have critical information about the attackers. The guard, a tall alien with blue skin and 4 arms, looked tired and stressed. Everyone has information. We're receiving thousands of reports. File it through the proper channels. This can't wait, Hana insisted. It's about the Vorathine tactics. I know why they're winning. The guard was about to dismiss them when Taeyang stepped forward. He moved with a confidence that made the guard pause. Tell your commander that a human specialist is here to help. One who fought in the old wars. One who knows Warlord Quan personally. The guard's eyes went wide. His hand moved to his weapon. Humans are extinct. If this is some kind of joke, it's not, Hana said quickly. Please, just send the message. We're trying to help. The guard stared at them for a long moment, then spoke into his communicator. Minutes passed. More guards arrived, surrounding them with weapons drawn. Hana's heart raced. But Taeyang remained calm, his hands visible and empty. Finally, a door opened. An older virilin in a military uniform emerged, flanked by armed soldiers. She looked at Taeyang with a mix of fear and fascination. I am Commander Nari, she said. I commanded the 3rd Defense Fleet. I've studied the Purge extensively. She stepped closer, examining Taeyang like he was a ghost. Show me proof. Anyone can claim to be human. Taeyang rolled up his sleeve, revealing a tattoo on his forearm. It was faded, but clear. Military identification numbers and the symbol of Earth's Defense Corps. Specialist Taeyang, 4th Battalion. Reconnaissance Division. Serial number 2847K. Placed in stasis on the 3rd moon of Sanctuary Prime. 200 years ago, Commander Nari pulled out a small scanner and ran it over Taeyang's arm. The device beeped and displayed information. Her face went pale. The genetic markers match. This is actually a human. She looked at her guards. Get them inside. Now, and not a word of this to anyone. They were rushed through corridors and into a secure room deep in the building. Commander Nari dismissed most of her guards, keeping only 2 trusted officers. She sat across from Taeyang and Hana, her hands folded on the table. "Explain," she said. "Everything." Hana told the story. How Mireille had hidden Taeyang. How her family had kept the secret for generations. How the stasis pod had activated when Kwan's ships appeared. Commander Nari listened without interrupting, her expression unreadable. When Hana finished, the commander turned to Taeyang. "And you claim to know this warlord Kwan?" "He was Vorathine's special forces," Taeyang said. "His people allied with humans during the border conflicts before the Purge. He trained with my unit for 2 years. I taught him close combat. He taught me Vorathine void-walking techniques." Taeyang leaned forward. "Oh, 17 is honor. 17 is honor." Taeyang leaned forward. "He's using modified human tactics because he learned from the best. But that also means I know how he thinks. I can predict his moves." "Why should we trust you?" Commander Nari asked. "Your species was declared dangerous for a reason. Because right now, I'm your only chance," Taeyang said bluntly. "Your fleets are losing because they're fighting by rules Kwan knows you'll follow. He's counting on your predictability. I can give you unpredictability." Commander Nari was quiet for a moment. Then she pulled up a holographic map, showing the entire system. Red marks indicated where Kwan's forces had attacked. Blue marks showed council positions. The red was spreading fast. "We're losing," she admitted. "We've sent messages to the Central Council asking for reinforcements, but they won't arrive for days. By then, Kwan will have taken everything he wants." She looked at Taeyang. "What would you do?" Taeyang studied the map carefully. His eyes moved over the positions, reading the patterns. He's searching for something specific. "Look at the targets. Research stations, old military bases, historical archives. He wants information about human weapon caches." "We destroyed all human military assets after the Purge," Commander Nari said. "Did you?" Taeyang asked. "Or did you hide them?" "Humans were good at making weapons. Too good. I bet some council members decided to keep a few secrets, just in case they needed them later." The commander's silence was answer enough. "I need to access your historical files," Taeyang said. "Specifically, records from the Purge." Mireille's journals mentioned a network of people who helped humans escape. They might have hidden more than just people. "That information is classified," Commander Nari said. "So is my existence," Taeyang countered. "But here we are." Commander Nari made a decision. She nodded to one of her officers, who began typing on a computer console. "I'm giving you access to the archives. But you work under my supervision. And if I even suspect you're a threat, you'll kill me," Taeyang finished. "I understand. It won't be the first time someone pointed a gun at me for being human." Over the next hours, Taeyang and Hana searched through files that hadn't been opened in 2 centuries. They found records of the Purge, of the battles, of the evacuation attempts, and hidden in coded messages, they found what they were looking for: names, coordinates, a network of sympathizers who had helped humans escape. At the center of that network was a name that made Taeyang stop breathing. "Yuna," he whispered. "Captain Yuna. My commanding officer. She's listed as dead. But," he looked closer at the file, "this death record is fake. The medical data doesn't match. Someone created a false record." Hana pulled up more information. If she faked her death, she could still be alive. Virillans and some other species live for centuries. They followed the trail deeper. Found references to other humans, hidden in different places. Some in stasis, like Taeyang. Others living under false identities. Not many, maybe 20 in total, scattered across 100 light-years. "There are more of us," Taeyang said, his voice filled with emotion he couldn't hide. "I'm not the last one. But Kwan is looking for the same information," Commander Nari said grimly. "If he finds them first, then we find them faster," Taeyang said. "We wake them up, bring them together. 20 humans working as a team can do what 200 aliens can't. That's arrogant, one of the officers said. No, Taeyang said. It's fact. We survived everything the galaxy threw at us. We survived the purge. And we'll survive Quan. He looked at Commander Nari. Give me a ship and a small crew. Let Hana come with me. We'll find the other survivors and bring them back. And then what? The commander asked. Then we teach you how humans fight. Taeyang said. Not with bigger guns or more ships. With strategy. With courage. With the refusal to give up. He smiled grimly. And then we remind Quan why humans and Vorathene were friends in the first place. Because when we worked together, nothing could stop us. Commander Nari looked at this human, this ghost from the past, and saw something the galaxy had forgotten. She saw hope. You have your ship, she said. The ship Commander Nari gave them was small and fast, built for reconnaissance rather than combat. Taeyang approved immediately. Perfect, he said. We're not going to win this with firepower anyway. Over the next week, they traveled to the coordinates hidden in the old files. Some led to empty graves where stasis pods had failed over the centuries. Those moments were hard for Taeyang, seeing the remains of his fellow humans, knowing they had died alone in the dark. But some coordinates held survivors. They found Dave first, a combat engineer who had been hiding in an asteroid mining station for 200 years, working under a false identity. He was older now, his hair white, but his mind was sharp. When Taeyang woke him from his hidden life, Day cried and laughed at the same time. They found Sora next, a pilot who had been living on a cargo freighter, moving from system to system, never staying anywhere long enough to be noticed. She had gray in her hair now, and lines around her eyes, but when she saw other humans, she fell to her knees and couldn't speak for several minutes. And finally, on a small moon hidden in a nebula, they found Yuna. She lived in a simple house, built into a cliff face, surrounded by gardens that reminded Taeyang of Earth. She was ancient now, her face weathered by time, her movements slow, but her eyes were still sharp when she opened the door and saw Taeyang standing there. I knew you'd come back, she said simply. I've been waiting. Inside her house, they found something incredible. Yuna hadn't just survived. She had built a network. Over 200 years, she had helped dozens of humans escape, had hidden them, had created new identities for them. Some had died of old age. Others had had children who didn't even know they were part human. There are maybe 17 full humans left, Yuna said, showing them her carefully kept records. And about 30 descendants of mixed families. Not much of a species. But we're still here. She contacted the others, using secret codes and old communication methods the council couldn't trace. Over the next days, they gathered. Some came alone, others brought family members, children and grandchildren, who had never met another human. Taeyang stood before them in Yuna's garden, and felt something he hadn't felt in 200 years. Pride. Quan wants to use human weapons to conquer the galaxy, he told them. He thinks he's honoring our memory by making everyone fear us. But that's not who we were. We fought to protect people, not to terrorize them. So what do? Day asked. Fight our own ally? Fight someone who actually cared about us? We remind him what friendship really means, Taeyang said. And we stop him before he becomes the monster the council always said humans were. They made a plan. Not to destroy Quan's forces, but to reach him directly. To talk to him. And if talking failed, to disable his weapons before he could use them on innocent populations. Hana worked with Yuna to contact the council. It took hours of negotiations. But finally, they got what they needed. Safe passage, a meeting with the council leadership, and a promise. If the humans stopped Quan, the council would officially recognize humanity's right to exist again. They'll break that promise the moment we're no longer useful, Sora said bitterly. Maybe, Yuna said. But it's better than what we have now. And if we save them, some will remember. Some will be grateful. That's how we rebuild trust. One person at a time. Quan's fleet was approaching the council's capital world when the humans made their move. Taeyang, Day, and Sora took a small infiltration craft, while the other humans provided support and intelligence. Hana insisted on coming with them, and despite Taeyong's protests, he couldn't deny her courage. They used old military codes, ones Quan would recognize. Codes that said, "Friendly forces approaching." It worked. Quan's flagship allowed them to dock. When Taeyong stepped onto the ship, memories flooded back. He remembered training sessions with Quan, late-night conversations about family and home, shared battles where they had saved each other's lives. Quan was waiting for them in the command center. He looked older, scarred from centuries of war. But his eyes lit up when he saw Taeyong. "Brother," Quan said, his voice breaking, "they told me you were dead, all of you." "Most of us are," Taeyong said quietly. "But some survived. And we need to talk about what you're doing." Quan's expression hardened. "What I'm doing? I'm making them pay, Taeyong. The Council murdered billions of humans. They erased your entire civilization. And you want me to stop? To forgive them? No," Taeyong said. "I want you to remember why we fought in the first place. We protected people. We stood between civilians and danger. We didn't become the danger ourselves." "The Council deserves to feel fear," Quan said. "They deserve to know what it's like to face extinction. And the innocent people on those worlds you're attacking?" Hana spoke up, her voice strong despite her fear. "What did they do to deserve your vengeance? Most of them weren't even alive during the purge." Quan looked at her, seeing a Virillan defending humans. It clearly confused him. "We're not asking you to forgive," Day said, stepping forward. "We're asking you to be better than them. To show the galaxy that humans weren't monsters. That we were people who valued life." Quan was silent for a long time. Around them, his crew watched nervously. Finally, he spoke. "I've spent 200 years planning this," he said. "Building this fleet, training these soldiers, all to honor you. To make sure no one forgot what humans were capable of. Then let them remember the truth." Yuna said, entering the command center slowly, leaning on a cane. Quan's eyes went wide when he saw his old captain. "Let them remember that humans were strong, yes. But also kind. Also willing to sacrifice themselves for others. That's the legacy worth preserving." Quan looked at all of them. These survivors from a dead civilization. He saw their scars, their pain, their refusal to become what the galaxy had feared. "If I stop," he said slowly, "what happens to my people? The Vorathine joined me because they believed in this cause. Then join us in a new cause," Taeyong said. "Help us rebuild. Help humanity find its place in the galaxy again. Not as conquerors, as partners." It took hours of talking. Some of Quan's officers refused to stand down. There was a brief, violent confrontation that left 2 Vorathine dead and Day injured. But in the end, Quan made his choice. He deactivated the weapons, called off the attack, and stood beside his human brothers and sisters as they faced the Council together. The Council kept their promise, though reluctantly. Humanity was officially recognized again. Veral 9 became their new homeworld, with Hana's people welcoming them. It wasn't perfect. There was suspicion, fear, resentment. But there was also hope. Taeyong stood in Mireille's grove one morning, watching human and Virillan children playing together among the crystal trees. Hana stood beside him, her hand in his. "Your great-grandmother was right," he said softly. "The stars did align in blood, but they also aligned in hope." Hana smiled. "She would have liked you. She saved more than my life," Taeyong said. "She saved our future." In the garden where a grave had once been hidden, new flowers grew, and among them, a small tree planted by children who didn't care what species their friends were. Humanity had returned, not as weapons, as seeds. And seeds, given time and care, can grow into forests.